Becoming a cycle breaker isn't about watching motivational videos, meditating, or reading self-help books.
It's about ripping apart our entire foundation of who you are and breaking your cycle and transforming your life so you can break through to everything you want.
I want people to know if you feel stuck, lost, or broken, you're not.
Little did I know that it was everything I didn't know that I needed.
There was a voice in the back of my head telling me that I was meant for bigger and better things.
Tiffany Toombs is amazing. I love her.
She worked with me to remove a lot of the beliefs that I was having in regards to finishing projects, procrastination. I needed help with that. And I've got to tell you, I've invested in all kinds of other mentorships. But the reality is, I wasn't ready to become the person I needed to be to utilize those tools because of the beliefs that I had about myself. And Tiffany helped me realize what those beliefs were and then to work through them.
Clear out childhood traumas and recode limiting beliefs. And I even improved my relationships with my family and friends.
The tools that Tiffany teaches you are just unbelievably incredible.
Literally helped me break through so many limiting beliefs.
And it can benefit your relationship, your life, your business, your job, your parenting abilities.
It really resulted in a lot of clarity and a lot of wow moments, which obviously relate to a better life, healthier, wealthier, just overall happier.
Basically rewired my brain to think differently.
After our first session, I went from not doing things to basically building an entire course that I have been thinking about doing for years in a 4-week period. I built everything. We have customers in it already, and I've got to say, I don't think I would have done that without Tiffany.
I like that she presents the science behind the information and techniques that she's teaching. So, you know that it's not just made up woo-woo. She gives you the science behind it.
You will heal your past.
Made me realize that nobody else's opinion really matters other than my own, and you know what I want to do about me. As long as I love me, then I should be comfortable being me.
After working and training with Tiffany for just a few short months, I noticed big changes.
I was hooked. That was it. That's all it took. It was life-changing.
She is super smart, very intelligent. She knows her craft. She knows her business. She's very vulnerable and open. I could connect with her. I could relate with her. She is non-judgmental.
So if you have the chance to work with Tiffany, saying no would be extraordinarily foolish.
Highly recommend her services to anybody that had a rough childhood and, is kind of under the influence or being held back by their past.
Next level, worth every penny. If you are on the fence, stop being on the fence and just say yes.
No matter what breaking the cycle is for you, there is a better way.
And it leads to breaking through the old patterns and starting to create the dream life that you can't wait to wake up to.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's masterclass, Why Entrepreneurs Lose Momentum Even When They're Motivated. So give me a 2 in the chat. If you in 2025 knew what to do, you just couldn't seem to do it. And give me a 3 if you were so motivated, but then when you sat down at your desk or in the chair, it was just like, womp, womp. All right, well, tonight we're going to talk about why. And I said to Sid, I think this might be one of the best trainings I've ever put together. So I'm excited for all of us tonight. So this training is for those of you who are ready to find a level of success that doesn't demand you burn out. Give me a 1 if you've burnt yourself out before, chasing success, hitting success. And now there's like a little whisper of a voice in the back of your mind that's like, are you sure you want to do this? Success demands a lot. Well, the good news is that success doesn't have to demand burnout. Okay? So there's a couple things that I need you to know before we get started for you to understand and fully accept that success does not demand burnout in all cases. First and foremost, success is kryptonite. And this is something that somebody else said to me a couple years ago, and it has stuck with me. And when the woman who said it to me said it, she meant how we build our business, right? If we build our business on social media, then we always feel like we need social media to keep growing our business, and we might be less likely to look at things like email campaigns or other ways to grow and scale a business. And I realized that this also applied to our nervous system. Our nervous system has one job, one goal, and that's to keep us safe and alive. And so if our nervous system keeps us safe and alive by sabotaging us, right? By going into shutdown, by avoiding certain tasks, but we survive on the other end of it. Even though we're not thriving like we want to, if we're surviving, which is all your nervous system cares about, then it will see that as what we need to keep doing moving forward. Okay, so if you've built your business in the past and it's built, you've had success, but it burnt you out, your nervous system says, oh, the only way to get success is through burnout, so maybe we just won't go there. And if the way that you've survived up until now is through avoidance, is through shutdown, is through people pleasing, then your nervous system is going to say, this is how we keep surviving. So these are the patterns we are going to continue to repeat. And if at any point in time I say something and you get an aha moment, I want you to put aha in the chat, because it's going to help lock that aha moment in for you. I know sometimes I've read something in a book or heard something on a podcast or on a talk, and I'm like, oh, that's mind-blowing. And then I'm like, wait, what was that thing that blew my mind? So put aha in the chat when you get an aha moment, because it's going to help you lock it in. I also want you to know that your nervous system isn't broken. And I wanted to dispel this myth, because I'm seeing a lot of people on social media who are now starting to talk about the nervous system. But it's not always accurate information. Your nervous system is working exactly as it was designed to do. Okay? It's working. It's doing its job. Now, you may not be thriving, and that doesn't mean, well, if my nervous system is working, then I always will struggle or I'm never going to hit my goals. What we want to do is expand what your nervous system can do. Okay? We tend to operate backwards in a lot of things. So if I said to you, hey, I want you to drop into the splits right now, what would your response be to me? If I said right now, no warming up, no like 6 months to prep yourself, just right now, drop into the splits, what would you say? Pop it in the chat for me. No, right? You're like, not willing to pull a hammy or a groin for you today, Tiffany. Thank you, right? Well, this is basically what you're doing to your nervous system, especially, this is a great time of year for this conversation to be happening, because some of you may have set New Year's resolutions or 2026 goals. And some of you may have said, I've done that in the past and it hasn't worked out. So heck no, I'm not setting a resolution or a goal for this year because I don't want to be disappointed again. Give me a 1 if you're that second person. Like, I've disappointed myself so many times, I'm not doing it again. Right? The reason that you ended up disappointed is because you said to your nervous system, drop into the splits. You don't get any time to prep. You don't get any time to warm up, just right now into the splits. But your nervous system heard, hey, I want you to do this thing that could kill us. I want you to do this thing that could kill us. And it went, no, thanks. Kind of want to live. And that's why you ended up in disappointment. You didn't end up in disappointment because your nervous system's broken. You didn't end up in disappointment because your subconscious mind is working against you. You didn't end up in disappointment because you're not good enough or you're not worthy or whatever other story you internalized to make sense of the disappointment and the not hitting the goal. None of that's true. It's a story you've told yourself, might make you feel better about not taking action in the future, or maybe not so much, right? Maybe you tell yourself it makes you feel better, but deep down you know it makes you feel like crap, right? So we're going to talk about tonight what actually needs to happen. So my goal for you today is to understand why you can get 80% done and then it's like you fizzle out. How many of you, give me a 2, are like you chronically can get to 80% done on a task and then all of a sudden you don't care about that thing anymore. You don't want to do it, right? You're like, this thing's boring me now. Okay, we're going to talk about why tonight. We're going to talk about why motivation, willpower, and discipline will actually keep you stuck if you don't do the thing that we're going to talk about tonight first. And we're going to show you how to make your life completely unrecognizable by summer. How many of you are like, I would like my life to be unrecognizable by summer? 3. Give me a 3 in the chat if you're like, yeah, I'd love to be making more money. I would love to be more consistent. I would love to be aligned with a different version of myself. So we're going to show you how to do that tonight too. Okay, but first, who the heck is Tiffany Toombs Clevenger? If you've never seen me before, hello, this is me. I am Tiffany Toombs Clevenger. I am a mom and a wife. This handsome gentleman here in the photo, the bigger one, the taller one, the one with the beard, is my husband, Sid. You will see him in the chat engaging with you. You'll also see him in our school community engaging with you. And the smaller handsome gentleman is my beautiful son, Chad. I've locked him out of the room so that he cannot come in and talk to you guys today, but I'm sure at some point he'll figure out how to unlock the door and get in here. So we love to hike here in the Great Smoky Mountains. I'm also an international speaker, coach, podcast host, all sorts of things. I love to garden with my little apprentice here. And sometimes I like to do crazy things like do yoga on the back of a horse. So I want you to know that I am a recovering, high-performing, overachieving, people-pleasing perfectionist. Say that 3 times fast. But that was my life for a very, very long time. Not a combination I recommend, but I also know give me a 2 in the chat if you are also a current high-performing, overachieving, people-pleasing perfectionist, because I know that like attracts like, and we're going to have some of you here as well. So that high-performing, overachieving, people-pleasing perfectionism led me to a lot of coping mechanisms, one of which included alcohol. One was workaholism. I was like, if you looked up hustle and grind in the dictionary at one point in time, you would have found my face because I was there. I was also an expert at burning myself out. Probably not something anybody wants to be an expert in, but if there was like a PhD program in that, I passed it with flying colors. And I was also great at avoiding things that would truly allow me to have the freedom and next level success that I craved. So I was really good at burning myself out and then falling short on finding I was great at creating success, but only success that burnt me out. And then I would avoid the things that would allow me the freedom that I was really after. I was also the queen of self-sabotage. So at one point in time, if you looked up self-sabotage in the dictionary, you would have seen this face as well. Okay. So what I wanted to start living up to my potential instead of continuing to live out my patterns. Give me a 1 if you resonate with this. You are ready to make 2026 the year that you live up to your potential and you stop living your patterns. Awesome. Beautiful. You're in the right place. So when I discovered what I'm going to show you today, my life profoundly changed. Burnout became a thing of the past. Success and achievement became sustainable. I worked less hours, yet made more money, and I was more aligned with my God-given purpose, which I think is the most important thing that I gained from all of this. So let's get into it. So where I want to start tonight is looking at what we call the momentum collapse pattern. What is it that happens in your journey that causes your momentum to collapse? So you wake up one day motivated, right? Maybe it's a Monday. Maybe it's January 1st. Maybe it's the 1st of whatever new month it is. But something has happened. You wake up and you are super motivated. And then as you start to take action towards whatever goal you're super motivated about, or you start to create the plan about what has to be done for you to hit that goal that you're super motivated about, the pressure starts to increase, right? It's like somebody went from like the oven being off to turning the burner on high, and all of a sudden you just feel that pressure like building. Give me a 2 if you can resonate with this. If you're like, yes, I've been there, I know exactly that situation. Okay. So the pressure builds, and then your nervous system, that pressure is going to get to a point where your nervous system says, this is a threat. I now feel like there's an active threat. There's a potential bear or lion chasing me. And so we need to go on high alert. We need to be ready to fight for our life or defend our life. And then you go either into avoidance or you go into overdrive. So avoidance looks like you like turtle, pull the blanket up over your head, and you're like, I'm not here, right? Or you're like, that thing over there that I need to do, can't see it. If I don't look at it, I can't see it, right? So you avoid the thing that you were once really motivated about, or you go into overdrive where you like grit your teeth and you're like, I'm gonna force this to go. Feel the fear and do it anyways. Who cares what I'm feeling? Okay, so I want you to tell me in the chat, do you tend to be the avoider or do you tend to be the overdriver? Which one is you? Avoider. Okay. What else we got? Avoider. Avoider. Avoid, mostly a mix. Avoid. Can be both. Yeah. And we can all be both. It kind of depends on the situation that we're in, right? And then the system collapses. Our nervous system says, this is absolutely too much, and it collapses. Now, the collapse tends to create shame. And shame then becomes its own threat to the nervous system. So it's like we loop back up here to the nervous system threat level, and then we go back into avoidance, overdrive, and then more collapse. Okay. So this is why motivation can be great, but if it's all we've got, it's probably not going to end well for us. So let's look at the difference between motivation and capacity, because what we need is capacity. What we've been told by motivational speakers, the personal development, self-help world is we need more motivation, right? There's even a quote like, motivation doesn't last, but neither does bathing, so I recommend it daily, right? Well, again, that's cool, but if you don't have capacity, all the motivation in the world isn't going to matter. So let's look at the difference between the two. Motivation is your desire to do the thing. Okay, it's your desire to do the thing. But motivation is emotional. And our emotions, as you may have recognized, can change like the wind. Motivation comes and goes. It ebbs and flows. And it's influenced by excitement, urgency, fear, inspiration. So you can be motivated 1 minute and then like some fear come in and all of a sudden your motivation is in the negatives. So you can be highly motivated and do nothing that moves the needle. I see this all the time in entrepreneurs who are just starting a business. They are super motivated and they spend all this time and energy on the perfect logo, the perfect branding colors, right? Building things that don't really matter. Now, again, we have logos. We clearly have brand colors. We don't spend that much time on it. None of you have ever said, you know what? She uses a nice navy blue color, so I'm gonna buy whatever she's selling. Oh, I like her logo. I'm gonna buy whatever she's selling. All right? That's not why anybody buys. But a business isn't a business until people are buying from you. We've said that to some people who've gotten highly offended by it and saying it with love, but it's true. Until you start making a sale, you make one sale, you're not a business. When I was in the fitness industry, again, I would see people spend all of this time and energy on buying matching workout clothes, making sure their shirt matched their pants, matched their shoes, that they had all the perfect accessories, right? The right bag, the right water bottle. They would spend all this time and money on that, but then not actually lifting weights at the gym. They had the right playlist designed, didn't touch a weight. They get to the gym, walk around, put their amazing bag in their locker, walk around the gym, wouldn't touch a weight. Highly motivated, not doing anything that actually causes the weight loss. Right? So let's look at capacity. Capacity is the ability to stay present while doing the thing. The reason that you lose motivation, that you get 80% of the way done and then you fizzle out, is because you're not in the present moment. It's because you've either allowed the stories from the past about failures and mistakes from the past filter in and take your focus, or your worst case scenario projections of the future and what could go wrong come in and rob you of your focus in the present. And both of those things, mistakes and failures from the past, worst case scenario projecting on the future, tell your nervous system that you are not safe. Now, here's the thing about your nervous system. It does not know the difference between fiction and reality. So if you start replaying mistakes or thinking about mistakes and failures from the past, your nervous system thinks it's happening now. And if you start worst case scenario projecting what could possibly go wrong in the future, your nervous system thinks it's happening now. And it's going to shut you down because you don't feel safe in the worst case scenario and you don't feel safe in the failure. None of those things are actually happening right now, but that's what it is. So your capacity is driven by the nervous system. It's physiological, not emotional. And it determines whether or not you follow through and whether or not your momentum sticks. So you can have low motivation and still show up consistently when there's capacity. I didn't feel like posting on Instagram yesterday. My motivation to post an Instagram reel was low, but I was present in the moment. I had high capacity, so I posted twice. Okay? So we don't want motivation. What we need is capacity. And when you have capacity and then you get highly motivated, that's where you can build momentum even faster. But even if you don't have motivation, if you just have capacity, you're going to build faster. Okay? So, motivation decides what you want to do, and your capacity decides what you stay with. Let's think of it this way for a second. Now, your nervous system is an electrical circuit, but I want you to imagine the electrical circuit in your house for a moment. Okay. Motivation is how much power you want to put through the circuit. Capacity is how much power you can safely put through the circuit. So if your motivation is greater than your capacity, what'll happen? You're going to trip a breaker, right? If I plug too many things in on one circuit in my house, I'm going to trip a breaker. The lights are going to go off, the toaster will stop working, etc. Self-sabotage is your nervous system's breaker tripping. Self-sabotage is your nervous system breaker saying, I don't have enough, this isn't safe. It's not safe enough for me to hold this much power. Okay. So let's check your capacity for a moment. Go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to take a couple physiological sighs. You're going to take a nice deep belly breath in through your nose. Pause, and then breathe into your chest, just another sip of air. And then a full exhale out through your mouth. So we'll do 2 more rounds. Nice deep belly breath. Pause and into your chest. Full exhale. And 1 more nice deep belly breath. Pause into your chest. Full exhale. All right, and close your eyes for me. And I want you to think about a goal that you want to achieve this year in 2026. I want you to think of that goal. Okay? Maybe it's more money. Maybe it's more people in your programs. Maybe it's losing weight. Whatever it is, I want you to think of that goal. Not what you should want, but what you actually want. Like, give yourself permission here to dream big. Okay? I want you to notice where you feel this in your body. Maybe you feel excitement, inspiration. Notice where you feel that in your body. Now, I want you to think about showing up consistently to get that thing. I want you to think of the process now and not the outcome to achieve that goal. And I want you to notice where the shifts happen in your body. So you can open your eyes. So we aren't here to help you get more motivated. We're here to help you increase your capacity. So what did you notice when you just pictured the goal, the outcome? What did you feel? Was it like excitement? Was it like buzzing? What did you feel? Excitement. Okay. What else? Buzzing in your head, determined. Awesome. And what shifted when you started thinking about the process and showing up consistently instead of just the outcome? So your whole body resisted the thought of doing what it would take to get the goal. Okay. What else happened when we shift to focusing on the process? Anxiety in the chest, resistance. Okay. So that difference shows us where capacity is lacking in getting your goal. Okay. So more discipline, saying I'm just going to be more disciplined to get my goal, is also not the answer. Okay. So discipline isn't the missing piece, and let's look at why. You have a limited amount of willpower each and every day. And when your willpower runs out, you revert back to whatever programs your subconscious mind and nervous system are most used to running. So we have this part of our brain called the default mode network. And this is who we are. This holds a concept of our identity. But our default mode network is also who we are when we're not trying to be anybody. It's our default settings. So you can say, I'm going to be really disciplined today. But when that discipline or willpower tank runs dry, your default mode network is going to kick in. And you're going to revert back to whatever patterns your default mode network is most used to running. Discipline alone without capacity is what causes burnout. One of the things. Okay, so when you're forcing yourself through, that's what creates burnout. Discipline without capacity. And discipline is, we are always conditioning our system. Okay, so when we use discipline and we don't have capacity, what we're conditioning our system is that success equals pushing, forcing, and hustling. Now, I work with a lot of high performers. Some of you are here tonight, right? I work with a lot of high performers. The majority of my clients make anywhere between $10,000 and $100,000 a month, some even more. And every single one of the clients that we've had over the last couple years has some version of this conditioning imprinted into their nervous system. That in order to have success, you have to push, you have to force, you have to hustle. And the end result of that pushing, forcing, hustling is burnout, is sickness. And for a couple of my clients, it's been near death. It's almost killed a couple of my clients. So give me a 1 in the chat if it makes sense why your nervous system, whose one goal is to keep you safe and alive, is not going to allow you to even get started sometimes when this is the conditioning that is running. So we don't have to shame ourselves for not being able to start. What we need to do is work with our system instead of against it. Because the more we work against it, the more we are just re-imprinting and providing evidence for this old conditioning that the only way to have success is through pushing, forcing, and hustling, which leads to burnout, illness, and potentially death. And you're conditioning your nervous system that achievement, in order to achieve things like more money, more accolades, more power, more status, more sports cars, more Hermes bags, however you say it. I'm clearly, for me, more chickens, that equals burnout and exhaustion. Okay. So your strategy isn't necessarily the problem. Now, if you have no strategy, then maybe you probably have a strategy problem as well. But if you only focus on fixing strategy and you don't work on the nervous system, you're going to make minimal movement forward. So here's why strategy fails. Strategy requires focus. Strategy requires decision making. Strategy requires you to follow through on the thing. It requires consistent efforts or repetitions, right? If you have a content strategy, it requires you to consistently post on social media. If you have an email strategy, that means you have to consistently be sending emails to your lists. Maybe your goal is weight loss. That means you have to consistently move your body. Maybe that's going to the gym. Maybe that's doing Pilates. Maybe it's going for a walk around the neighborhood, right? But it requires consistent efforts or repetitions. And a threatened nervous system shuts down all of these things. It shuts down your focus. It shuts down your decision making. If you make decisions in survival mode, you will get more situations you need to survive. It shuts down your ability to follow through and be consistent because it shuts down your capacity. It decreases your capacity. So strategy is great when you have a nervous system that can focus, that can make long-term empowering decisions, that has the capacity to follow through and the capacity for you to make consistent efforts and repetitions. But strategy alone is not going to achieve any goal. And this is beyond business. This is health. This is relationships. Okay. So let's look at if your nervous system is threatened by your goals. So we're going to do 2 more rounds of the physiological size. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in. Pause, breath in again. Full exhale. And then a deep breath in again. Pause, breath in to your chest. Full exhale. Now I want you to think about the process again to hit your goals. Get that process feeling back. Think about what it is you want and then what you would have to do consistently to achieve that goal. Then notice where in your body you feel this. So think of what you want to achieve this year. And then as you think of this goal that you have, I want you to think about showing up consistently to get the goal. So focusing on the process and not the end outcome. Notice where in your body you feel that. And now we'll just take a nice one physiological side to clear. Pause, breathe in again. And full exhale. And now closing your eyes, I want you to find a place in your body that feels safe or that feels the least activated. Okay. You can come back into now and tell me in the chat, what was the difference between the two? How did they feel different? Where were the locations different? So we started with the process. How did that feel versus the safety? How did that feel? Let me know in the chat. So what was that difference? The locations were different. First felt exhilarating. Second felt like total rest. Here's the crazy thing, is that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between excitement or exhilaration and anxiety. So logically, you might label it as positive because you're like, well, this is my goal, so therefore it should be positive. But your nervous system just says, this is activating me. And activation in too high of levels can be a threat because now we're trying to put too much power through a circuit that doesn't have the capacity to safely hold it. Okay. So that difference that you felt between the process of getting to your goal and the safety, that difference is why your momentum collapses. Because your goal doesn't yet feel safe to your nervous system. It feels activating in too high of a dosage. Okay. So when you increase capacity and take regulated actions, then you're going to start noticing that you can break out of spirals so much faster. You can tap back into motivation after you get out of this spiral and start working on the things that you've been avoiding for months or maybe even years. You might start selling your packages or your programs or your services for more than you ever have before. You might hit 6 figures in April of the year, or find yourself hitting $250,000 in the first 3 quarters of the year. Might have a 10K week, or find that the weight starts melting off. Might even have a $100,000 sale. So here's the real question for you that I want you to sit with. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're ready for this question. All right. Can your nervous system hold the success that you desire? The power that you want to put through the electrical circuit of your nervous system, does your nervous system feel safe enough to hold that? And if the answer is yes, then success is just around the corner. And if the answer is resistance or, I don't know, or a definite no, then that's where your motivation is dropping out and you are ending up in self-sabotage. So give me a 2 in the chat if you feel a little bit like this right now. Like, I feel like she's just opened the fire hose. I know there's been a couple aha moments in the chat. So this is what we've covered, and this is what I have yet to share with you. Okay, we have just scratched the tip of the iceberg here. Okay. So if I could give you a step-by-step process to expand your capacity so you could build momentum and hit your goals faster, I want you to tell me in the chat, what would that be worth to you? Like, if I could say, here is a step-by-step process that's going to allow you to expand that capacity so you break out of self-sabotage, what would that be worth to you? Okay, pop it in the chat. So personally, I have invested over $100,000 in figuring out this system and over 10,000 hours of my time to discover the winning formula. And it allowed me to go personally, in my own personal life, a bank account that looked like this, which is anxiety inducing in itself, to making more money than we ever had before, our income growing year after year, because we continue to repeat these processes every time we set a new goal. 6 months worth of costs for our life and savings. We have money in investment funds for our retirement, and we don't work Wednesdays, Saturdays, or Sundays. We take them completely off for the majority of the year. There are some exceptions.
And it didn't just work for me. Allowed Nancy to make 6 figures in the first quarter. It helped Roshana go from having to drive Uber at Christmas to make sure she had enough money to buy presents for her kids to 6 months later had her first, it says here $25,000 month, but you can see this was posted on the 18th of the month. It ended up being a $35,000 month for the first time ever, 6 months later. And she went on to have her first 6-figure year that year. And it allowed Josh to get out of his own way that he could go out and collect $75,000 in both collections and new income in a week. 1 week. Some of that money was already owing to him for work that he had done for people, and he didn't have the capacity to go and collect it. So, this is where our Momentum Mastery program comes in. So, the major part of this program is the regulated momentum method. So, this is our step-by-step system that will allow you to make your life unrecognizable within 6 months. And each month, you're going to unlock a new level that has quick habit forming and identity shifting strategies that we're going to share with you that will expand your capacity to hold more power in your system, to hold a higher level of a goal, to hold a higher level of success that doesn't demand burnout. So by using the regulated momentum method, you're going to build consistency. You're going to steadily build consistency. You're going to have less avoidant strategies, less self-sabotage. Action taking is going to feel more effortless for you. You're going to have clarity. The brain fog disappears. You're going to be excited in a way that doesn't overactivate your system. You're going to feel aligned, and you'll experience more success. Okay? As my computer doesn't want to work. My computer's been listening. It's like, I just want a little bit of rest. So the regulated momentum method is valued at $1,997. Then we have the Momentum Accountability Engine. So with this program, we're not just going to give you the step-by-step method and leave you on your own to do it. There's weekly check-ins and accountability to support you in staying on track. And you also get access to us in Group Voxer, so you can ask for support, you can ask questions when you're stuck, and you get to celebrate your wins with an amazing community. So the Momentum Accountability Engine is valued at $997. You're also going to get our monthly regulated performance labs. So each month we're going to have a live call with me where I'm going to guide you through a deep regulation technique that's going to help accelerate your growth and accelerate where you're at in the journey. And if you can't make it live, replays will be available. And so the regulated performance labs are valued at $697. There's also daily regulation and leadership coaching drops. So in the Voxer community, I'm going to drop a 2 to 3 minute neuroscience-backed coaching drop Monday to Friday that is going to help you shift your perception. It's going to keep you engaged and open your mind to new possibilities. I've designed them so that you can listen to them while you're brushing your teeth, while you're washing your face, while you're going to the toilet if you need to. Okay. So they're short, simple, quick, but they are going to open your mind in ways that maybe you hadn't considered before. Think of it like a mini podcast, and that's valued at $497. You're going to get our Momentum Intelligence Tracker. So this is going to allow you to recognize your patterns in real time. This is not about accountability or productivity tracking. It's about pattern recognition. Okay. So we can't fix what we aren't aware of. And so we're giving you this tracker so that you can recognize the patterns, that build. That doesn't make sense. I was clearly half asleep when I put this together. The patterns that are building you up, you'll be able to recognize them so that we can create repeatable systems for success around those empowering patterns. And then you'll notice the patterns that break your momentum before you get too far off course. Because give me a 1 in the chat if you've ever spiraled and then not caught yourself until you felt like you were miles and miles away from where you wanted to be. Right? So the momentum intelligence tracker has been designed so that we know life's going to happen, right? We know challenges are going to come up. So it's not a matter of if momentum falls off, especially initially when we're reprogramming the nervous system, right? It's kind of like potty training a child. There's going to be accidents, right? You have to expect to get pooped on, but it's going to be okay. You're not going to totally have to deal with it forever. And so we want you to have a tool that you can notice as soon as your momentum breaks, and we can identify the patterns that led to it. Okay. So the Momentum Intelligence Tracker is valued at $297. And then you're going to get our Consistency Accelerator Intensives. So these are live monthly coaching calls with me. You do get hot seat coaching for personalized support on your specific blocks and patterns. If you can't make it live, you can submit questions ahead of time that I'll answer on the call, and then you can go back and watch the replay as well. So those are valued at $1,500 because you're getting my specific guidance to wherever you're getting stuck, my coaching and support. So the Momentum Mastery Program, here's everything that is included in the program. And yep. So the total value is $6,985. But we also are just launching this program tonight. You guys are the first ones we've ever spoken to about this. So we want to give a couple founding member bonuses. These will not be around for very long. So if you want them, now is the time to get in. This is going to include our Rapid Regulation Toolkit. So these are new tools that we will share each month. So each month you'll unlock new tools that are going to deepen your regulation practice. And they're going to be tools to navigate any situation, to navigate any nervous system response, which we show you what the most common ones are in the program. We're going to give you tools for all of it. So it doesn't matter what challenge you're facing, what is coming up for you, you're going to have tools to navigate it. So this is valued at $297. And then we're going to give you our brand new ECOS, which is our Entrepreneur Consistency Operating System. And so this is going to be our execution framework. It's going to translate regulation, capacity, and clarity into daily execution. It's going to help you decide what to work on, when to work on it, and how to work on it without triggering your shutdown switch. Okay. So this is valued at $397. And then you're going to get our 7-day momentum reset. So in this program, it is going to allow you to gain clarity and consistency each week, recognize the patterns that have been keeping you stuck. And it's valued at $197. So you're also going to get our Root Cause Mastery Workshop, which is going to help you self-identify the root cause that's triggering your shutdown switch. And then we're going to give you tools on how to transform the root cause so that your growth and success becomes sustainable instead of burning you out. And so this workshop is valued at $297. So as a founding member, everything that you're going to get is here. And so that's a total value of $7,173. Now, there is a story about a man, let's call him Bob, and he passes away. And Bob gets to the gates of heaven and he's met by St. Peter. And St. Peter says, "Hi, Bob, come on in." And he's showing him around heaven. And he's like, "You can go anywhere you want in heaven except this one door. Don't open this door, Bob. You can go anywhere else in heaven except this one door. Just don't open this door." And Bob's like, "That's a little bit weird, but okay, whatever. I get to go everywhere else, so I'm going to go." So Bob, starts hanging out, enjoying heaven. And a couple months later, he's walking by that door one day, and the door's kind of open already. And Bob says, wow, he didn't tell me I couldn't go in if it was open. He just told me I couldn't open the door. So Bob goes in and he sees a lagging computer really takes away from the story. He sees all of these boxes, and they're all different shapes and sizes, and they have people's names on them. And as he starts looking at the boxes, he realizes these are people I've met in heaven. These are the names of the people that I've been meeting and making friends with up here. He says, it looks like everybody has a box. And he starts looking for his. He's looking for his box. And as he's looking for his box, St. Peter walks in and says, Peter, or Bob, I told you not to open that door. And Bob says, well, technically I didn't open it. It was already open. I just poked my head in. But I'm really curious about these boxes that have names on them. I can't find my box. Why are they all different sizes? And St. Peter says, look, I shouldn't tell you this, but you had a box full of your purpose for life. And the more fully you lived out your purpose while you were alive on earth, the smaller your box is. But if you held back, you got caught up in fear, you got caught up in self-sabotage, and you didn't really follow your purpose, your box is going to be bigger. So my question to you is, what size will your box be when the time comes? So this program is valued at $7,173. That's not what we are going to ask you for. We will be selling this program for $2,997. However, you've shown up for yourselves tonight. You've invested your most valuable resource of your time and your attention in being here, and we like to reward people. So for now, you can get your first 30 days of this program for just $47. And then it'll go to $97 a month after that. And you can cancel anytime. There's no contracts. You're not locked in. You can cancel anytime. So $47 for your first 30 days. And then $97 a month. You can cancel anytime. And whenever you decide to cancel, you'll be able to keep all of those founding member bonuses that I mentioned in the beginning. Okay, Sid has put the link there in the chat for you. So to make this already no-brainer offer even better, we're also going to give you our 30-day regulated momentum guarantee. So if you're doing the work and applying the tools to your life, and in 30 days you see not any shift at all, we'll give you your money back. And you can keep the bonuses. So $47 for the first 30 days, then $97 a month after that. Cancel anytime. Here's everything you're getting. Sid has put the link in the chat. We are live recording the modules for this. We start tomorrow. So you join us tonight. You'll be able to join us tomorrow for the live recording, and then you'll get the replays with that. And then we'll be doing the weekly calls, or the monthly calls, starting in February. So for the next 6 weeks, we will be live recording the modules, which means at the end of the recording, I will also open up time to answer any questions that anybody has. Okay. So that is it for this. Go ahead and grab that link that Sid put in the comments. If you have any questions about the program, feel free to send Sid or myself a message in school. And before we finish up, I would love if you could sum up tonight's workshop in 1, 2, 3 words tops. What would you say? Beautiful. And thank you all so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure to share all of this with you. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. Awesome. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and send them to myself or Sid. Otherwise, that is it for tonight, and have an amazing evening.